What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Shine Sis Podcast.
Yes. It's good to have y'all back with us.
Yes, we really hope you guys enjoyed our first episode, Getting Naked, and we getting a chance to introduce ourselves and tell you guys what this podcast is all about. So, you know what? We're not even going to talk anymore. We're going to go ahead and get straight to it. So, what are we talking about today, Candace?
So, today we're going to focus on learning more about our identity, which is our thoughts that we have about ourselves, because we feel like that ties in to your purpose. Because obviously, if you view yourself a certain way, you're going to have certain expectations for yourself in terms of your growth, your goals, what you want to accomplish in life, what you think you're worthy to accomplish in life. So, I think it's just important for us to dive into that, discussing maybe how our identity was created or molded over time and what we could do to kind of deconstruct that and then build it back up and mold it to what we want it to be, create our identity going forward so we can work closer or take steps closer towards our goals. So I think you have a definition for us for identity.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get the definition that I got off of Merriam-Webster. But honestly, I feel like it's a little broad. It doesn't really explain identity in itself. But here we go. So Merriam-Webster says that identity is a distinguishing character or personality trait of an individuality. Don't you think it could be more detailed than that?
Yeah, definitely. I think because when you think about like identity in today's time, first of all, there's so many different aspects of identity beyond just like, from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, it gets really deep, especially on the psychology level. So, but I think, I think our focus when we want to talk about identity is more geared towards the mental aspect of it in terms of what you think about yourself. And because obviously that can be based on your experiences in life that you've had, relationships you've built over time. And I'm not just talking about, relationships with significant others, but relationships with your parents, your friends, your peers, co-workers,
Absolutely.
whatever. I think those relationships, your experiences, things that you see in society, that you compare yourself to. Because that's another thing, like dealing with social media in today's time. It's like, it's so easy to start comparing yourself to what you're seeing and, without seeing the struggles or the story behind some of the success of whether it's even your, some of your friends or celebrities or whatever. We can get caught up in that and comparing ourselves to that and wondering why we aren't at that same level as them.
So essentially it's tied to what you think or what you view as important based off of what's influenced you over time.
Right. Because I think, obviously, if I'm somebody who looks at wealth as being the most important aspect of life, I'm going to judge myself based off of that. So if I'm out here, making a lot of money, then I'm going to have a certain mindset, or I'm going to think about myself in a certain way. But if I'm still valuing that wealth, but I'm not making the money I want to, then I'm going to look at myself in more of a negative light. And also those type of things are going to influence the decisions I make. So for instance, if wealth is important, it is important to me, or the most important thing to me, then when it comes to making decisions about a career, that may take precedence over everything else, which means I may be willing to accept a position that pays me a lot of money, but I may be stressed all the time. I may not be able to spend time with my family. But from my perspective, because the amount of money in this particular example, and I'm not talking about me personally, but if I value money over everything, then I will be willing to accept those things. So when I reflect on my life, it shouldn't surprise me if I'm missing out on other things just because of what my focus is. So I think it's just important for us to really look at what is important to us and not what we think should be important to us, based on society or based on, what your parents said or how your siblings live or whatever the case is. You don't want to be so focused on living up to somebody else's standards. You need to be true to yourself.
Right.
And I think that's going to help you bring
Absolutely.
bring a lot of happiness to your life, because you'll start fulfilling yourself by following some of the things that you truly desire, that really feed you, and not just saying, hey, I can tell other people I make this amount of money, so I look good. But if that's not bringing you happiness, if that job is not, where you really want to be, and it's not fulfilling you, then why are you chasing that? Like, why have you decided to make that such an important aspect of your life?
Say it again, sis. Say it again. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay, come on. Come on.
So, I mean, I think the goal is for us to try to change our mindset. Be true to yourself. So, I mean, I was sitting there trying to think of some ways that, me and you and our listeners could try to adjust our mindset, and also really start to look deeper and be honest with ourselves about, what's important to us, and what really matters, and what's the difference between what we think is important versus what we think should be important. Like, how do we get to a point of separating those two things, basically? And I know at one point, me and you
Right.
had discussed trying to quiet some of the noise.
Yes, like shutting out all that outside noise, that background noise, whether it be taking a break from social media, meditating in the morning, just taking some time out and just pushing all that aside and just trying to hear your own voice, writing down, your goals. I think our biggest thing, and when it comes to finding our identity, is that we need to get in that mindset of like, your priority is not to keep everyone else in your life happy, because how can you fill somebody else's cup up if yours is empty?
Mm-hmm.
We are to leave. Too many people are out here not living their life, their dreams, because they're living in fears of what other people will think.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, it's all about making yourself happy.
Exactly. And just for a personal, I guess, experience, I'm not going to name any names, but somebody near and dear to me who I respect a lot. I remember, so during the time where, I've worked before, but right now I am currently a stay-at-home mom with my children. And obviously during the time of COVID is probably, a good thing, but to be able to be in that position to have the opportunity to be home with them, and, and keeping them safe. But going back to even before this, like I said, being a stay-at-home mom, like I said, somebody that was close to me sent me a picture of my college graduation invitation, and basically jokingly asked me, well, what you get this for? Basically, like, and obviously they looked at it as being a joke, but it's pretty much asking me like, well, why did you waste time getting this degree that you're not currently using? You know what I mean? Because you're home. And I think at that time, it was hard because I had just gone through.
Girl, that's the devil.
I was literally just going through a situation where, like, my mom is somebody who she obviously I'm a part of her, so she knows what to say. Same with my dad; they know what to say to speak to me. You know what I mean? So, but she had just encouraged me about the idea of looking at the benefits of being home with my kids and having that extra time with them, being able to feed into them, because, they're young, they have young minds. And this is a good opportunity for me to take advantage of really, really trying to mold them, before they get thrust into the world. So don't necessarily look at it as a negative thing. But when I received that picture, because that's somebody I respected, or not respected, but still respect, that's somebody that I respect. It did hurt my feelings, because it started making me doubt myself and doubt the decisions I had made. And, well, dag, should I be in a different spot? Should I be doing like what did I do wrong? Because obviously, even if there's always a little truth in jokes that when we make like that. So, like I said, so in that moment, when I'm sitting there looking at that message, and I'm like, okay, well, I had already gone through a phase of feeling of doubting myself because of me personally. I do find it like I put a lot into your career, in terms of that being something that is important, right? And so when I'm looking at myself, like, I don't have a career, I'm home with my kids, you can see why that would already be something that I feel a certain way about. So when it kind of got attacked, I'm like, it did hurt me. But then I just had to start being honest with myself and being appreciative of some of the things I was doing. But it's moments like that when you have to just sit back and really say, wait, am I mad about my situation, or am I mad because that person noticed my situation and thinks negatively of it? Is that what really bothers me more? Because after I had a conversation with my mom about, the valuable time I was going to be receiving with my kids, it made me feel better about my current state at that time, because I'm like, you're right. Like my kids, my husband, they are important to me. So I was, like I said, so I could still, my mom had basically built me up basically in that moment with speaking into me. So then when I got hit with the message, it was like, oh no. But if I was strong in my mindset about what was important to me and my true identity, and knowing what I was still working towards, that even if I'm a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't mean that I'm not working towards my career. It doesn't mean I'm not working towards my goals. No, I'm still trying to make moves. So I had to realize, like, hey, it's about, what do you think about yourself? Who do you want to be? Who do you think you are? Can you honestly say that you're waking up every day getting one step closer to the person you want to be? And if I'm brutally honest, part of that was, yeah, I do feel like I'm taking steps, and I could write down the things I was doing, but there was also a lot that I was leaving on the table. You know what I mean? Because when you actually see it written down of how you're spending your time, how you're spending your money, what all your effort is going towards, you'll quickly realize, like, I'm really not taking advantage of my time as much as I should be. There's always going to be some room that I promise you will find, even if it's something as simple as money, buying or buying something. I can't even, like, I don't know, just something like, or eating fast food, for instance. If you really ask yourself, do I really need this? Or could this money be used somewhere else that's going to benefit me in the long run in a different kind of way? So if you're trying to start a business, is that money that could be saved up to go towards that? If you're trying to get some type of equipment because you're trying to, I don't know, if you want to be like a filmmaker or something like that, like if you are, can you really say that you're doing everything you can to make those moves? And for me personally, I knew as a complete whole, no, I wasn't. It was only parts of me. So I vowed at that point to say, you know what? Okay, that's fair. You got me. It hurt me. But now I'm at a different place than I was then, because I'm like, you know what? I'm more comfortable with who I am. Now, I'm not saying, y'all, let me be very clear, because I don't want y'all thinking that I'm out here saying, oh, I got it all together, that I'm perfect, like I never have moments and stuff like that, because that would be a lie.
No.
But I do feel like I'm at a better place of saying, you know what, I know at the end of the day, I want to be trying to help people. I love the idea of making somebody feel better. I love giving somebody else that feeling that they can, or motivation to go out there and achieve their dreams, or that they even have the power to do so. Like, that's such a great feeling to be able to give somebody else.
Right.
So I'm like, something as simple as, for instance, we're doing this podcast because we want to help. We want to do some good. So, I feel purpose in this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot associated with it.
Yes.
So it's not like just this feeling of, oh, we just doing this cause. Like, no, there is purpose in this.
And I'm sure, like, some of our listeners have probably been in the same situation or have some similar experiences. Me personally, I know that my upbringing with my mom being a single mom, working 2 or 3 jobs, like, I've always had that mentality, like, oh, I need to work. I need to work. I need a job. I have to have a job. I need to provide. Well, I'm thankful for my husband who can provide for us. It's just, it took me a while to actually be okay with being a stay-at-home mom. Because even now, it's just like, I'm itching. Like, I need a job. Like, I feel like should be able to contribute as well and help out. But at the end of the day, you know what? My purpose right now is watching our youngest 18-month-old grow up and enjoying those little life moments. Because granted, with my son, our oldest, I didn't have that experience because I was a young teenage parent and I was still in school. So I was going to school, I was working, and my mom was help taking care of him. And then with Amira, you know, we were PCS and moving, we're moving to a new place. So it was a whole lot of getting adjusted. We're actually taking on my sister and cousin after my mom passed. So it was a lot where I couldn't always dedicate my time to her either.
Right.
So now 10 years down, we had a new kid. So it's like, okay, you know, appreciate this. This is a blessing in disguise, you know? And then not only that, but the whole, when you're talking about, someone close to you sending the picture of your graduation invite, girl, like I felt that because okay, we moved here last year in the middle of COVID and I got my master's degree. But on top of that, it's like I got my master's and my bachelor's, but I'm still not doing anything with it. So it's just, so what I'm doing, just like collecting debt and just another paper to add to the collection. That's what I've been feeling like. But you know what got me out of that funk? I don't know if you heard of the pastor called Dr. Darius Daniels. He has this series called Beast Mode. And what he said like stuck to me. He said, there is nothing in your life that is wasted. That time and that experience, you don't know the value of it yet. And though it may have took more from you than what you can expect, like never ever label anything premature as irrelevant because your time is coming. So sis, we got this. We got this. We just gotta have patience.
Yes. Yes. And that is an excellent point because I mean, you were absolutely right. Because I mean, I just think about some of the different, either between jobs or relationships that I've had over the years, and then they just are so random. But I slowly, every once in a while, see the use of something else that I did in the past or something like that, you know, and whether it's, or even helping somebody else where I can say, oh yeah, I did that before here, you know, I can kind of show them the way or whatever the case is. So you are absolutely right. And I think right on the money when you say, or when I know you mentioned the pastor just talking about how everything is going to come together. So, you know, don't look at it as something that you already lost. Because obviously at some point in your life, what was important to you was education and getting that experience of education to add to your resume. So it was, you know, and I know obviously the mindset may be, oh, well, that was also to build my career to get a job. But I mean, there are other avenues of getting, you know, certain types of careers and stuff like that. So what was important to you was a particular, you know, way in terms of getting your master's in a certain field. So
right.
I think sometimes after, like you said, when you're through it and then you're like, oh, this is it. It's easy to get down on yourself, but you're right. Like you don't know the future. You don't know what's coming next. You know what I mean? But you know that if you keep pushing, you're going to get closer and closer to, you know, what you want to achieve. So I think that's really, that's really good. And like I said, and if y'all keep listening, y'all are going to see the transformation. Y'all are going to hear about the transformation. Y'all are going to hear all the stories about how little trinkets of our life, I guess you could say, are all coming together.
Yes, the growth. Yeah. The growth. I'm telling you, y'all.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
That's what I'm like, y'all don't listen. Y'all are really in the mid. We at battle together, okay? We're out here at battle together trying to do this. So some of these things that we're mentioning, we actually are going to do go ahead and do it with you guys, which, like I said, going back to the idea of writing down, you know, how are you spending your time? And like I said, time and maybe even money would be important depending on what you're trying to achieve. Like I said, if you're someone who's trying to start a business, then obviously the financial aspect of it is going to be important for you. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you're not, let's say you are working and your time, you feel like it's so limited. I think once you actually see how much extra time you have and where it's going, because even, I mean, I think I went a couple of days where I said, you know what, I'm not going to watch any TV. And because if you ask me normally, I would say, no, I don't watch TV like that or whatever. But when I actually told myself I'm not going to watch any TV, I started noticing the times when I could be doing something like, let's say I do the dishes. I'm cleaning the kitchen. I may have normally have the TV on in the background or whatever, just where I'm not sitting down watching it, but it's on and I'm, it's catching
Right.
my attention from here and there. But once you take that out, and I start realizing, wait, well, while I'm doing the kitchen, this is also time for me to be reflecting on my day, reflecting on my goals, reflecting on what I want to do, or what my next move is going to be. Writing down different things that I want to achieve for the day. And oh, that's another thing I want to bring up too. That's why we mentioned doing our affirmation every morning, because when you do the affirmation and you really sit down and think, what is my goal for today to get one step closer to my dreams, to achieving my dreams? What is it going to be? It has to be something. And like I said, and once you, like I said, going back to the whole idea of being honest with yourself, what is important to me? Is it family? Is it money? Is it, social status? What really feeds me? What fulfills me? Then you could kind of start maybe getting closer and weeding out because that also is going to reflect, or not reflect, but it's also going to affect, I should say, your decision making. And if you're in a place right now where you don't want to be, then maybe you need to ask, okay, well, what was driving me to make those decisions early on? Because maybe you're going at the wrong angle just based on that alone. Like, so if you're not where you're supposed to be and you're like, well, dang, what was driving me before? Oh, it was money. So I only took these jobs because I wanted the money. Well, maybe it's time to try to let something else drive you, to get that fulfillment. Because if, like I said, if you're making a lot of money, but the stress behind it, the lack of free time or something like that is weighing on you way more, then is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? But going back to what I was originally going to say, because I know I kind of just went on a tangent. But
Lord, it's like
but yes, we gotta get back to finding out, like I said, what's really important to us and changing our mindset on and redirecting it to what do we want to be important to us? Who do you want to be? What is that person? And what's important to that person? And then let that basically drive your decisions going forward. And make sure you're not just going off of what somebody else is saying. Like I said, in that situation, going back to my, situation with the graduation, I could immediately been like, you know what? Oh my goodness, they're right. Maybe I need to go find a job real quick just to say I have a job. So I don't have to I don't have to deal with that. Let me just do, but would that be true to me? Would I've been happy with accepting anything just to basically be able to say, oh no, I'm working, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't have been, but,
and it just goes back to just, drowning out that outside noise, because you have to listen to yourself and do what you feel is right. A lot of times people get so caught up in these like TV shows or social medias on how, spouse should be, how she should dress, how she should act, or not even a spouse, just a woman in general. They got so many labels out there on, how this perfect person is supposed to be, and that's not the case. Like, be yourself, because that's your true identity. And then just going back to when you say like taking the time out to write down what you do, holding yourself accountable for, like, whether it's every minute, every hour of the day, like, make sure, like, the goals you're writing down for yourself, like, they're SMART goals. And then when I say SMART goals, I mean in terms of, like, that they're specify these goals, like, make them as detailed as possible. Make sure that they're, like, measurable, that you can take action with these goals, that they're realistic, and then time targets. Set a time, whether it's like 6 months, a year. Don't just go making these goals and then don't have, that time target, because otherwise they're not realistic. A lot of times we make these New Year's resolutions. Oh, I want to lose weight. Oh, I'm going to read a book. Okay, but that's it. And it's just be like, okay, well, how many pounds do you want to lose it? When do you want to lose it by? How many books do you want to read? Was it in a year? Do you want to read a book a month? 2 months? Like, come on. Be more detailed about it,
Exactly.
sis. Come on.
Exactly. And she's right, because shoot, even when it came down to us doing this podcast, like it became more realistic when I realized, like, wait, we're actually taking steps. Like, we are taking the effort to, make sure we're doing our research, whether it be, talking about the programs, the equipment, just learning the processes, and getting information. So it was, and this was one of the few times that, like, I've really stuck with something, in this type of field, I guess you could say, of just trying to make sure we saw it through, basically. And that all came from both of us getting to a point of saying, hey, by next week, we need to have this done. By the following week, we need to have this done.
Yes.
And I ain't gonna lie, there were a couple of times where we had to push the deadline back, but it still kept us motivated and kept us doing what we were supposed to do. Because otherwise, if we didn't even do that, man, we wouldn't have even, made the steps or taken the steps that we were able to achieve, basically. So I definitely agree with that. And that's a good point. With having the smart goals, as you say. So y'all, do it. Write them down. And now, something else I want to get into, because I know a lot of times people are like, okay, you're talking to people who already know what they're trying to do. Like, some people are in a situation where they're like, oh, I have this job, but I would really love to be doing hair. Like, they already know that and they feel like that's their purpose, but they're like, yeah, but they just haven't made the leap, right? So you have those people who haven't made the leap yet, but then you have the ones who are actually sitting there and they're like, hey, I don't know what I'm good at. Like, I don't know what God put me here before. I don't know what I should be doing or could be doing, because I don't feel like I'm.
That's me, sis. That's me.
And see, so that's okay, because we're gonna get you there. We're gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like, some of the things that come to my mind is, the first one would be, if you've been in situations where, if you really sit and think about it, you've had people praise you about doing something that you find to be so easy or so simple. So if people are like, oh my God, how did you do that? Like, whether it's, it could be, making clothes, doing hair, it could be anything, baking cakes, whatever. If you've had somebody say to you, oh my God, this is so good, and you hear it several times, and you're like, it wasn't that big of a deal. That is a gift. Whatever that thing is, that is a gift, because whatever it is, obviously you have people who are looking at you like, yo, I can't do that. So it amazes me that you're able to do that, and then the fact that you're doing it with ease, that's a big deal, and then I would also say, if there seems to be something that follows you. So, like, if you've been following a certain career path, but you notice that every time you go to a certain job, somehow, some way, you find yourself doing either another job or being a part of something that's very similar each time, maybe you need to listen to that a little closer. Like, well, why am I always, being expected to run the events at my job? No matter what type of job I have, they always look at me to do this and do that. Okay, well, maybe you have a gift, whether it's promoting the events or creating events or just, or putting things together. That's something, you know what I mean? Like I said, I think a lot of times people just kind of look, especially when you're good at it, it's easy to dismiss it at times, because it comes so easy, that you may not even notice, you know what I'm saying? That you have that gift. But yeah, but like, if you are somebody, like I said, who, you're constantly getting asked by your friends to do certain things, or whether they rely on you for, to talk to, or whatever the case is, look at those things and see, do you feel good, when if your friend calls you and needs your ear, do you feel good about giving that advice back to them? Do you feel good about making them feel better? Like, all those things, there's meaning behind it. You got to feed into the things that make you feel good. And let me hold on. You know what? Let me clarify that, because I can't say that and just let it go, because there are a lot of bad things that can make you feel good. And
Oh
no,
no!
but seriously,
If it make you feel good, sis, keep going,
right?
keep doing it. It feels
So
good.
no, I'm not saying all things in that kind of way.
Not that
Y'all,
temporary feel good, sis. Not that temporary feel
right?
good.
Yes, exactly. That is the perfect way of saying it. Not the temporary feel good, okay? But if there is something that feels like it's feeding your soul, okay? If it feels like it's feeding your soul, then you need to recognize that, and you need to open up more and say, maybe there's
Yes.
something more to that. Maybe, maybe you have a gift of reaching the youth, whether it's through sports or whatever the case is. Like you just gotta, sometimes even especially that one is one where people could be having like a whole nother career, and they're decide to just like coach basketball on the side, and to them it may be like, oh, I'm just doing that just cause. But if you notice that you're creating change in these young kids, feed into that, do a little bit more, because it's going to come back on you in a good way, so I think that's important. So like I said, that's a little bit for which we'll dive into that maybe a little bit later on in another episode. But for the ones who are like, man, I'm completely lost. Like I don't even know what interests me. I don't know what gifts I have. I don't know what I want. Like I'm just kind of like here. There's I think the baseline of everything for me personally is find a way to serve others. Find a way to serve others. Whatever you choose to do, I promise you, when you take a step back and you decide to help somebody else, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel really good about the situation. And, then you could just see where it leads from there. So if you're somebody who love to cook, there are plenty of, people out in this world, between homeless people or just, people who are unable to purchase food, who, would be very grateful to, have your food or whatever the case is, right? If you're in a situation where you can donate or something like that, like you're going to be fulfilled by by situations like that. So I'm just telling you, do that. So yeah.
Yes. Like, I'm just gonna go piggyback off of what you just said, just about the purpose. Like finding your purpose is it's empowering in itself. Like it's life giving. So it's time that you start being the person that you really want to be. It's time that we go ahead and reach for those dreams. Let's make those moves. Seek and find your identity. Block out all that black background noise. Take a break from social media, TV outlets, whatever it is that you need to do to figure out who you are and who you want to be.
Yes. And like I said, and the shutting the noise is a big deal, because with everything that's going on in the world,
Yes.
I mean, with excuse me, with, obviously interacting with family members, friends, coworkers, whatever the case is, it's so easy to get caught up in this, like, desiring other things that you would have never thought about or been worried about, because, you hadn't been exposed to it. So for instance, if you're constantly looking at social media and you're seeing, people who are going on vacation and living it up and all this stuff or whatever, you may have been feeling good that day because, you got a compliment at work or something like that. But instead of basking in that and just motivating yourself to keep pushing forward, now you just expose yourself to all this extra stuff that could possibly put you, in a spiral, and a downward spiral, I should say.
Get out of my head, girl. Get out of my head. I swear that was me a couple months ago. Like, not even a couple months ago, but obviously before COVID hit. Like, watching all these married couples, take these vacations and stuff. And I'm like, man, like, I want to go on a vacation too with my husband.
Right.
Like, when is this going to happen, Lord?
Right.
Like, I get in my feelings like, why we can't go on a vacation? Military, hello.
Right.
We got nobody to watch the kids. We far away. Like, yes. So, yeah, definitely. That I'm telling you, social media have you and your feelings. I've taken several breaks from social media. I mean, we already know you don't even be on social media like that. But that's another story for another day.
I don't.
But that's good, though. That's good.
I like to, honestly, I only keep Facebook just for family, and I don't even be on it like that. But I don't know. I did flirt with Twitter one time, but that didn't last. I think I actually would look like Twitter, but yeah, I don't know. It's just sometimes it's just too much. It's just too I don't know. It's just too much. And then plus going back to the whole identity mindset, like, when you expose yourself to someone, and I'm talking about more of the negativity side of social media at this point. But when you expose yourself to some of that, it's just, I don't know, it's just, it can just really affect you in such a negative way, to where you may start to feel hopeless and not pursue some of the things that you're destined to pursue. So, or that you should be destined to pursue, So like I said, it's just about one day at a time. The first thing is blocking out the noise. What's important to me? What is my purpose? Yes. What do I do? Who do I want to be? What do I want to achieve before it's all said and done? Like I said, getting into the idea of feeding others, feeding into others, I should say, is very important.
Yeah. So before we go ahead and end, y'all, let's go ahead and get this affirmation going. All right, you ready, Candace?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do this.
I am enough.
I have the power to create the life I desire.
I am worthy of my dreams.
I am worthy of my dreams.
One more time.
I am worthy of my dreams.
Yes, yes. And remember, sis, you got this. Keep shining.
You got this, girl.